The big discovery, late 1968 or early 1969, was when I started playing the open 5-string tuning. It transformed my life. It's the way of playing that I use for the riffs and songs the Stones are best known for. Honky Tonk Women, Brown Sugar, Tumbling Dice, Happy, all down the line. Start Me Up and Satisfaction, Flash too. I had hit a kind of buffer. I just really thought I was not getting anywhere from straight concert tuning. I wasn't learning anymore. I wasn't getting some of the sounds I really wanted. I've been experimenting with tunings for quite a while. Most times I went into different tunings because I had a song going and I was hearing it in my head, but I couldn't get it out of the conventional tuning no matter any way I looked at it. Also, I wanted to try to go back and use what a lot of the old blues guitarists were playing and transpose it to electric, but keep the same basic simplicity and straightforwardness, that pumping drive that you hear with the acoustic blues players. Simple, haunting, powerful sounds. And then I found out all this stuff about banjos. A lot of 5-string playing came from when Sears Roebuck offered the Gibson guitar in the very early 20s, really cheap. Before that, banjos were the biggest selling instrument. Gibson put out this cheap, really good guitar, and cats would tune it, since they were nearly all banjo players, to a 5-string banjo tuning. Also, you didn't have to pay for the other string, the big string. Or you could save it for hanging the old lady or something. Most of rural America bought this stuff from the Sears catalog. Rural America was where it was really important. In the cities, you could shop around. In the Bible Belt, rural America, the South, Texas, the Midwest, you got your Sears Roebuck catalog and you sent away. That's how Oswald got his shooter. Usually that banjo tuning was used on the guitar for slide playing or bottleneck. An open tuning simply means the guitar is pre-tuned to a ready-made major chord. But there are different kinds and configurations. I've been working on open D and open E. I learned then that Don Everly, one of the finest rhythm players, used open tuning on Wake Up Little Susie and Bye Bye Love. He just used the bar chord, the finger across the neck. Ry Cooder was the first cat I actually saw play the open G chord. I have to say I tip my hat to Ry Cooder. He showed me the open G tuning, but he was using it strictly for slide playing, and he still had the bottom string. That's what most blues players use open tunings for. They use it for slide. And I decided that was too limiting. I found the bottom string got in the way. I figured out after a bit that I didn't need it. It would never stay in tune, and it was out of whack for what I wanted to do. So I took it off, and I used the 5th string, the A string, as the bottom note. You didn't have to worry about bashing that bottom string and setting up harmonics and stuff you didn't need. I started playing chords on the open tuning, which was new ground. You change one string, and suddenly you've got a whole new universe under your fingers. Anything you thought you knew, it's gone out the window. Nobody thought about playing minor chords in an open major tuning, because you've got to really dodge about a bit. You have to rethink your whole thing, as if your piano was turned upside down and the black notes were white and the white notes were black. So you had to retune your mind and your fingers, as well as the guitar. The minute you've tuned a guitar or any other instrument to one chord, you've got to work your way around it. You're out of the realms of normal music. You're at the Limpopo with Yellow Jack. The beauty, the majesty of the 5-string open G tuning for an electric guitar is that you've only got 3 notes. The other 2 are repetitions of each other an octave apart. It's tuned G, D, G, B, D. Certain strings run through the whole song, so you get a drone going all the time. And because it's electric, they reverberate. Only 3 notes, but because of these different octaves, it fills the whole gap between bass and top notes with sound. It gives you this beautiful resonance and ring. I found working with open tunings, there's a million places you don't need to put your fingers. The notes are there already. You can leave certain strings wide open. It's finding the spaces in between makes open tuning work. And if you're working the right chord, you can hear this other chord going on behind it, which actually you're not playing. It's there. It defies logic. And it's just lying there saying, fuck me. And it's a matter of the same old cliche in that respect. It's what you leave out that counts. Yeah. Let it go so that one note harmonizes off the other. And so even though you've now changed your fingers to another position, that note is still ringing. And you can even let it hang there. It's called the drone note, or at least that's what I call it. The sitar works on similar lines. Sympathetic ringing, or what they call the sympathetic strings. Logically, it shouldn't work. But when you play it, and that note keeps ringing, even though you've now changed to another chord, you realize that that is the root note of the whole thing you're trying to do. It's the drone. I just got fascinated by relearning the guitar. It really invigorated me. It was like a different instrument in a way, and literally too. I had to have the 5-string guitars made for me. I've never wanted to play like anybody else, except when I was first starting, when I wanted to be Scotty Moore or Chuck Berry. After that, I wanted to find out what the guitar or the piano could teach me. The 5-string took me back to the tribesmen of West Africa. They had a very similar instrument, sort of a 5-string, kind of like a banjo, but they would use the same drone, a thing to set up other voices and drums over the top. Always underneath it was this underlying one note that went through it. And you listen to some of that meticulous Mozart stuff and Vivaldi, and you realize that they knew that too. They knew when to leave one note just hanging up there, where it illegally belongs, and let it dangle in the wind, and turn a dead body into a living beauty. Gus used to point it out to me. Just listen to that one note hanging there. All the other stuff that's going on underneath is crap. But that one note makes it sublime. There's something primordial in the way we react to pulses without even knowing it. We exist on a rhythm of 72 beats a minute. A train, apart from getting them from the Delta to Detroit, became very important to blues players because of the rhythm of the machine, the rhythm of the tracks. And then when you cross onto another track, the beat moves. It echoes something in the human body. So then, when you have machinery involved, like trains and drones, all of that is still built in as music inside us. The human body will feel rhythms even when there's not one. Listen to Mystery Train by Elvis Presley. One of the great rock and roll tracks of all time, not a drum on it. It's just a suggestion, because the body will provide the rhythm. Rhythm really only has to be suggested. It doesn't have to be pronounced. This is where they got it wrong with this rock and that rock. It's got nothing to do with rock. It's to do with roll. 5 strings cleared out the clutter. It gave me the licks and laid on textures. You could almost play the melody through the chords because of the notes you can throw in. And suddenly, instead of it being 2 guitars playing, it sounds like a goddamn orchestra. Or you can no longer tell who's playing what. And hopefully, if it's really good, no one will care. It's just fantastic. It was like scales falling from your eyes and from your ears at the same time. It broke open the dam. Ian Stewart used to refer to us affectionately as my little 3-chord wonders. But it is an honourable title. Okay, this song has got 3 chords, right? What can you do with those 3 chords? Tell it to John Lee Hooker. Most of his songs are on 1 chord. Howling Wolf stuff, 1 chord. And Bo Diddley. It was listening to them that made me realise that silence was a canvas. Filling it all in and speeding about all over the place was certainly not my game, and it wasn't what I enjoyed listening to. With 5 strings, you can be sparse. That's your frame. It's what you work on. Start me up. Can't you hear me knocking? Honky-tonk women. All leave those gaps between the chords. That's what I think Heartbreak Hotel did to me. It was the first time I'd heard something so stark. I wasn't thinking like that in those days, but that's what hit me. It was the incredible depth. Instead of everything being filled in with curlicues, to a kid of my age back then, it was startling. With the 5-string, it was just like turning a page. There's another story, and I'm still exploring.